It's almost instinctual for most men to compliment a woman's physical appearance. You look beautiful. I love your smile. You're stunning tonight. These are fine, even kind gestures, but they're surface level. They're what she hears all the time, and frankly, they don't land the way most men think they do. What she secretly craves is to be seen for the parts of her that aren't obvious. The parts that don't show up in selfies or get recognized on Instagram. What she wants, what she rarely hears, is a compliment that sees into her inner world. Here's the truth. We live in a culture where women are constantly celebrated for how they appear, not for what they endure, not for their internal fortitude, not for the emotional weight they carry that often goes unseen and unthanked. And because of that, many women walk around feeling invisible in the areas that matter most to them. To serve on the phone, that she dive into dark cells to discover the best way to claim their freedom. They want to be admired, not just as a partner or prize, but as a human being navigating a complex emotional landscape. When you recognize her strengths, her quiet internal strength, you're not just complimenting her, you're validating her humanity. Think about it. Most women are managing a dual reality, external expectations and internal battles. She's taking care of everyone else, showing up for her career, maintaining friendships, handling family, processing her past, all while keeping it together emotionally. And you know what? She probably never says a word about most of it, because she doesn't want to burden you, because she's been conditioned to normalize emotional labor. And yet, she keeps moving. So when you pause and say something like, I really admire how strong you are under pressure, or you look so handsome, how stable, how small, how sad, you are in control. All these say, she may not be unaffected by your situation. You are nice to everyone, but only to her. And you only listen to her when she tells you something. And sometimes it converts you. You desperately want to talk, but only when she tells you something. And sometimes it converts you. You desperately want to talk, but only when she tells you something. And sometimes it converts you. You argue, or I see how much you carry without complaining, and it blows me away. It hits her differently. You're speaking to the part of her that rarely gets noticed. You're acknowledging the armor she wears every day, and that you respect what it took to put it on. That kind of compliment doesn't just flatter her, it reaches her. There's a psychological reason for this. Compliments that affirm someone's effort or resilience speak to their identity, not just their ego. You're saying, I value the way you move through the world, not just I like the way you look. That lands deeper. It activates a different part of her self-perception, the part that wants to be known, not just wanted. And here's something important most men miss. When a woman feels seen for her inner strength, she becomes more emotionally available, more trusting, more connected. Why? Because trust isn't built through charm, it's built through recognition. And so if you have been pushing her to be seen, you've pushed her too far, because the more roads she takes, the more connection. Why? Because she feels better, she feels worthy. She's keeping the magic in the window. That's truth. Isn't built through charm, it's built through recognition. It's not the self, and you speak to it a lot in your book, Prapsis. You speak to it as kin, through the sense that finally someone sees her not as a role she plays, girlfriend, wife, lover, but as a whole person. That changes the dynamic. It deepens the intimacy without a single touch. Philosophically, this is about moving from admiration to reverence. Admiration is about qualities. Reverence is about essence. And when you compliment her resilience, you're revering something essential about her spirit. You're no longer just observing her from the outside. You're acknowledging what lives at her core. Don't underestimate how rare this is. Most men never say these things, not because they don't care, but because they don't think to, because they haven't been taught to look beyond beauty. But once you train your eyes to see a woman's strength and your words to honor it, you'll start to connect in a way that feels more real, more grounded, more magnetic. So the next time you feel compelled to say, she's beautiful, go deeper. Say she's brave. Say she's resilient. Tell her you admire her calm under pressure, or her ability to keep showing up when things are hard. Speak to the parts of her she's had to build, not just the parts she was born with. And remember this, real connection begins where recognition replaces assumption. You know, one of the most underestimated forms of intimacy is noticing. Noticing what someone does when they think no one's watching. The gestures, the choices, the effort. And for women, especially in relationships, so much of what they contribute emotionally and practically tends to operate in the background. It's not broadcast. It's not dramatic. It's woven into the fabric of everyday life. And yet, most of it goes unspoken, unnoticed, unacknowledged. That's what creates the quiet emotional distance between partners. Not a lack of love, but a lack of recognition. See, we tend to reward the obvious, the big accomplishment, the glamorous transformation, the public success. But relationships are not built on highlight reels. They are held together in the quiet spaces, when she listens even though she's tired, when she organizes without being asked, when she supports your dreams while quietly putting hers on pause. And she doesn't do these things because she expects applause. She does them because she loves you. But here's the trap. Just because she's not asking to be seen doesn't mean she doesn't want to be seen. From a psychological standpoint, humans are wired for acknowledgement. We seek affirmation not just of who we are, but of our impact on the world around us. And when that impact goes unnoticed, it doesn't disappear. It becomes resentment. A woman who feels invisible in her own relationship doesn't speak up immediately. She just gradually detaches. Her tone changes. Her energy shifts. Her presence becomes more functional than emotional. And the tragedy? Most men don't even realize what's changed until it's too late. They say, she just drifted away, when in reality she was there the whole time, doing, giving, loving, waiting for someone to notice. So here's what most men miss. You don't need to do something grand to create emotional intimacy. You just need to notice better. Noticing is a form of emotional leadership. It says, I'm paying attention. I don't take you for granted. When you tell her, I saw how you stayed calm even when your day was chaotic. Or, I noticed how you made sure everyone else was okay before you even sat down. What you're really saying is, you matter, not just for what you do, but for the way you do it. That level of detail creates trust, because now she knows she's not alone in the emotional labor. She knows her presence isn't invisible. She doesn't have to perform to earn your attention. This doesn't just validate her, it frees her. Because once she feels seen, she can exhale. And when a woman can exhale around you, she can open up in ways you've never experienced before. It's easy to compliment what stands out, but the compliment that stays with her is the one that says, I see the part of you that thinks no one sees. That's intimacy, that's safety, and ironically, it's not about saying the perfect words. It's about seeing her in her truth and having the courage to say anything at all. So if you want to build deeper, more resilient relationships, not just romantic ones, but human ones, train yourself to observe what most people overlook. Practice presence. Speak to the quiet contributions. Recognize the effort that's not announced. Because in a world that constantly tells women to be more, give more, smile more, being seen for what they already do is revolutionary. There's a subtle but powerful truth about desire and connection that most men never fully grasp. Women don't want to be compared. They want to be distinguished. They don't crave praise that places them on a pedestal with others. They crave recognition that separates them entirely from the crowd. That tells them, you are not just one of many. You are one of one. This is where most compliments fall flat. We often reach for generalities. You're amazing, you're the best, you're so attractive. Because they're easy, they sound good. But they lack precision. And here's the thing, intimacy lives in the specifics. When you really know someone, you don't speak to what anyone could say. You speak to what only you could say, because only you have witnessed that part of them. What women secretly crave is a compliment that affirms their individuality, their uniqueness, their essence. You see that point in their speeches. It's when they say things that they mean, like in the Alucard, when women secretly crave is a compliment that affirms their individuality, their uniqueness, their essence. Poetic language, but in something real, something grounded, something that says, I see what makes you unlike anyone else I've ever known. Why does this matter so much? Because it speaks to identity. It reinforces a sense of irreplaceability. And when someone feels irreplaceable to you, the emotional foundation of the relationship strengthens, not just because they feel special, but because they feel safe. Safe in the idea that you're not with them because of a checklist or a type or a fleeting chemistry, but because of something distinctive and unrepeatable in who they are. In a psychological sense, this need to be seen as unique ties into what we call personal differentiation. It's the core human desire to be both understood and distinguished. When you tell her, there's something in the way you think, how you challenge me, how you never just accept the surface of things that I've never encountered before. You're tapping into this deep need. You're complimenting not a role she plays, but a quality she embodies. And the irony is, most men feel this uniqueness in a woman, but they don't say it. Either they don't have the language, or they assume she already knows. But no one ever really knows they're unforgettable unless they're told. And that gap between what we feel and what we express is often where emotional disconnection begins. This doesn't mean you have to flatter endlessly or manufacture praise. It simply means becoming attuned to what sets her apart. Is it her sense of timing in conversation? Her ability to read people's emotions without being told? Her strange but beautiful curiosity about life? Her unapologetic humor? Find it, name it, and speak to it, not as performance, but as truth. Because here's what happens when you do. She starts to feel chosen, not just loved, not just wanted, chosen. There's a big difference. Love says, I care for you. Want says, I desire you. But chosen says, out of all possible versions of connection, I see you, I value you, and I choose you for what no one else offers. For what no one else offers. She says, oh, I see you, I value you, and I choose you for what no one else offers. For what no one else offers. She says, oh, I see you, I value, and I choose you. And when a woman feels chosen for who she is, not just how she looks or what she gives, her emotional availability deepens. Her trust expands. She no longer feels the need to prove herself because you've already seen the part of her that's beyond comparison. that's when she stops performing. That's when she starts unfolding. So if you want to connect with a woman on a level that few men ever reach, stop trying to impress her. Start trying to understand her. And then say the one thing she never hears: you're not just amazing, you're unlike anyone else. And I love you because of that. Because the greatest compliment isn't admiration, it's distinction. There's a dimension of connection that we almost never talk about, yet it's the very thing that gives relationships depth. It's not about what a person does or what they say or even what they look like. It's about how it feels to be in their presence, their emotional signature, their energy, their being. And for many women, this is the part of themselves they most deeply hope will be seen and appreciated. Yet it's also the part that's most often ignored. We're conditioned to value action over presence. We notice what people produce, what they fix, what they give, but presence is different. It's not about doing, it's about being. And when a woman walks into a room and the energy subtly shifts, when she creates a sense of warmth, ease, or clarity simply by being there, that is power. Quiet, invisible power. The kind of power most men never name, even though they feel it. And that's the key. If you feel it, say it. That's the compliment she's not hearing, but craving. From a psychological perspective, this taps into something primal. The need to feel that who we are, not just what we offer, is valuable. That our mere presence is enough. When a man notices a woman's presence and acknowledges its impact, it affirms her essence. It tells her, even if you did nothing else, your presence has weight. You matter, as you are. This is radically different from the praise she's used to. She might be told she's helpful, supportive, beautiful, intelligent, but being told, you bring something to a space that changes how I feel, lands on an entirely different level. It doesn't praise her utility, it honors her existence. And that kind of recognition doesn't just touch her, it grounds her. We don't often think to compliment someone's energy. Maybe because it's hard to describe. Maybe because we assume it's too subtle. But energy is the first thing we feel and the last thing we forget. When you meet someone and feel instantly calm or inspired or understood, that's presence. And when you tell a woman, I feel more at ease when I'm around you, or you make the room feel warmer just by being in it, you're speaking to the deepest layer of emotional intimacy. Attunement. Attunement is the ability to be emotionally and psychologically present with another person. It's not just about hearing their words, it's about feeling their rhythm, their silence, their shifts in tone, their energy in motion. When you compliment a woman's presence, you're essentially saying, I'm tuned into you. And that's rare, because most people are scanning for behavior. But presence, that requires attention. It requires stillness. And most importantly, it requires that we not just observe a woman, but that we feel her. Now let's talk philosophy for a moment. Presence is also about being overdoing. In a world obsessed with productivity, women are constantly pushed to perform, to contribute, to be valuable by doing. So when a man recognizes and appreciates who she is in stillness, without condition, without expectation, he offers a kind of liberation. He gives her permission to just be. And that, paradoxically, is where the deepest trust is born. This isn't about idolizing her. It's not about mystifying her. It's about honoring what so few take the time to name. The emotional tone she brings to your life. The way her presence shifts something inside you. The part of her that doesn't need to try because it simply is. And here's the irony. When a woman feels seen in this way, When her energy is felt, her presence is appreciated, she becomes more secure, more expressive, more open. Because now she's not just heard or helped, she's felt. And being felt is the purest form of being loved. So the next time you feel peace around her, say so. When her laughter brings you back to life, tell her. When her silence makes you feel safe, speak it out loud. Because sometimes the most meaningful compliment isn't about what she gives, it's about what she is. Because in the end, the deepest form of love is not performance-based, it's presence-based.